All lines have been placed on a listen-only mode, and we will open the floor for your questions and comments following the main presentation. You can press 1 followed by 4 at any time to enter the question queue. Before management begins speaking, the company has the following statement. This conference call contains forward-looking statements within the meaning of the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995, including those related to the effects, if any, on future results, performance, or other expectations that may have some correlation to the subject matter of this press release. Readers are cautioned that such forward-looking statements involve risks and uncertainties, including, without limitation, its ability to obtain FDA approval of the transfers of the ANDAs or the timing of such approval process, delays, uncertainties, inability to obtain necessary ingredients, and other factors not under the control of Elite, which may cause actual results, performance, or achievements of Elite to be materially different from the results, performance, or other expectations that may be implied by these forward-looking statements. These risks and other factors, including without limitation, the company's ability to obtain sufficient funding under the LPC agreement or from other sources, the timing or results of pending and future clinical trials, regulatory reviews and approvals by the Food and Drug Administration and other regulatory authorities, intellectual property protections and defenses, and the company's ability to operate as an ongoing concern are discussed in Elite's filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission, including its reports on Forms 10-K, 10-Q, and 8-K. Elite undertakes no obligation to update any forward-looking statements. With that covered, it is now my pleasure to turn the floor over to your host, Mr. Nasrat Hakim, President and Chief Financial Officer of Elite Pharmaceuticals. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mandy. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for calling in today. My name is Nasrat Hakim, and I'm Elite's President and CEO. We'll start with the financial report from our Chief Financial Officer, Carter Ward, followed by a brief update from our EVP of Operations, Doug Ploshy. Then I'll say a few words in the end, and we will conclude with the Q&A. Mr. Ward, you have the floor.
Thank you, Nasrat, and thanks everyone for calling in today. Last Friday, we filed our 10-Q for the quarter ended June 30th, 2014. We're on a March fiscal year, so the June quarter is the first quarter of our 2015 fiscal year. Nasrat commented last week that we had a strong start to our fiscal year, and I think that pretty well summarizes the overall financial results and position for our first quarter of fiscal 2015. The financials are available online at elitepharma.com as well as sec.gov and all the usual other sites like Google, Yahoo, MSN Money, and OTC Markets. Had the weekend, so hopefully most of you have had a chance to review our financials. I'd like to spend a few minutes going over some of the more important aspects of our financials. So when going through our financials, I'm going to start first with something that is not on our balance sheet anymore, and that would be the $3.3 million asset relating to our investment in Novel Laboratories. This investment dating back to 2006. During this quarter, we sold our minority stake in Novel for $5 million, and we recognized a $1.6 million gain. $5 million in proceeds received was used to get us current on our bonds, which I'll discuss later, and also to help fund the ongoing trials and development of our abuse-deterrent opioid products. The takeaway on the Novel transaction is that for the last 7+ years, we've had an asset that wasn't contributing or supporting our core objectives and operations. During this quarter, we monetized that asset, and we are now able to use those resources to support our corporate objectives. That's a strong start to our fiscal year for sure. Also no longer existing and relating to our balance sheet is the long-standing monetary default on our New Jersey Economic Development Bond. This monetary default dates back more than 5 years, and as of July 23rd, has been cured. We've paid all principal and interest amounts which were in arrears, an amount of just less than $1 million. We retired the Series B bonds, which carried a 9% interest rate, and we are now current on our Series A bonds. we cured a long-standing monetary default, and we solidified our balance sheet. We now have sufficient working capital on hand to fund the ongoing product development activities. Once again, another example of a strong start to our year. With that, I'll move on to the P&L statement. Revenues for the quarter were $1.2 million. That's a 60% increase on a year-on-year basis. Now, the reason for this increase is pretty straightforward. All of our products, which are relatively new, ranging from less than a year to just over 3 years in the market, they've all grown as expected. Now, the growth at this time was expected, and the sales of our phentermine, hydromorphone, methadone, and phendimetrazine are growing nicely. In addition, we launched generic naltrexone last September, so that product generated revenues during this year's June quarter, but not in the June 2013 quarter. So our commercial generic products are performing nicely. Let me also remind you, there are 12 additional products which were acquired last year, which are being transferred for manufacturing either at Elite or at locations licensed by Elite. This is in progress, and this will provide an even greater and broader revenue base, which we expect will generate new and growing revenues. Yet again, another example of a strong start to our year. We have increasing revenues, and we have a pipeline of additional products on the horizon for the future. So moving down the P&L statement into the operating expense section, by far the most relevant number there is our research and development expense. Last year's June quarter was the last full quarter before Nasrat Hakim joined us at Elite. From day one, Nasrat emphasized the urgency of commercializing the products using our abuse deterrent technology. And this focus is clearly seen in the R&D expense line item on our P&L statement. R&D expenses for the June quarter of this year were just over $4 million as compared to less than $600,000 last year. It's an increase of almost $3.5 million, or more than 600%. That's a big change from last year. Nasrat will talk about product development activities in more detail, but I just wanted to say that as of today, we have already conducted several successful studies. We have ongoing studies and trials for multiple abuse-deterrent opioid products, and we're on schedule for filing of our first of these products by the end of 2014 itself. None of that existed last year. That's why R&D expenses have increased. From a finance perspective, we're prepared and able to fund these costs. Our generic revenues are growing, and they're contributing. We monetized our investment in Novel. We have the Lincoln Park equity line supporting as well. So financing of the planned studies and the R&D activities is accordingly in place and available. I've often mentioned in the past the importance of putting working capital to use. And this is exactly what I mean. We're putting our working capital to very good use. So to summarize, it has been certainly a strong start to our fiscal year. Revenues are up. Product development continues to accelerate. We're on track for our first opioid filing this year. And financially, Elite has never been stronger. So there's a lot to be encouraged about. Now our Executive Vice President, Mr. Douglas Plashy, will give an operations update.
Good morning. It was just, I think, 6 weeks ago, so I will be fairly brief. On the commercial front, we have put a lot of our work in systems and execution into good use, resulting in a slight reduction in headcount despite volume being up. We've eliminated approximately 15% of the commercial headcount. We continue to focus on upgrading equipment in both the laboratory and manufacturing, and continue to grow with each new product that arrives. R&D front, we've been extremely active with the manufacture of a number of submission batches. We've hired additional technicians and technical service engineers to help with the processing of all the data to support the filings, and we are starting to really see the benefit of those hires. Capacity, we recognize, will become a constraint as we approach commercialization of the first ARC product. To that end, we leased an additional 20,000 square feet in the current commercial manufacturing building and completely refurbished approximately 2,000 square feet of it for our QA department to be centrally located. The remainder of the space is open warehouse, which provides easy, fast, low-cost internal construction for manufacturing. As a parallel activity, we are developing scope and bid documents for commercial scale manufacturing equipment, as well as evaluating existing commercial sites. To date, these have been out of the state. However, we will consider any site that suits our needs. Overall, I think we're doing the right things on multiple fronts, both tactically and strategically, and the quality and the cohesiveness of the team continues to improve, resulting in much-needed efficiency and momentum. That's all I have, Nazareth.
Thank you, Doug. And good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. Over the weekend, I actually wrote a little presentation to go through with you of all of our achievements in the past year since I've been a CEO. This morning, I threw it in the trash. I decided not to do that. What I want to do this morning is walk you through our flagship product, ELI 200, and emphasize again many of the things that I've said to you before, because a lot of questions are coming to Diane that people have not understood the steps we have to go through to get this product to the market. We have a lot of other products in clinical trial and a lot of other activities, and I'm sure you're going to ask about that in the Q&A. So let me focus on ELI 200 because that is truly the most exciting right now, and I'll walk you through beginning to end one more time what we're doing. In order to launch a product, especially an anti-abuse product, NDA, you have to have a robust, successful formulation. That requires a lot of work, reproducibility, and long-term stability on accelerated temperature. We had that, and that was very successful. The second thing, it requires a bioequivalency trial. You got to compare your product to a comparator that the FDA knows of and have tested the product before. That was very successful, and we've done that as well. That was the trials that we went through in January of 2014. After that, you have to comply with the FDA's guidance on anti-abuse. That spells out the 3 categories for the industry to go through. You don't have to comply with all of them. You have to comply with what you need to have on your labeling. The first category is the lab in vitro anti-abuse. That is very exciting work. As a matter of fact, we created an entire department to handle this work at home, meaning at the lead. We hired a consultant with a PhD that's managing the project. We hired a manager, a scientist with an MS and many, many years of relevant experience in the industry, another scientist with a bachelor's in pharmacy and an MS will be finished in December, and 2 summer interns just to handle this kind of work. The lab anti-abuse work is very intricate. We were talking about trying to mimic what a person who wants to abuse your product would do at home. So you have to run a lot of alcohol trials, assuming people have alcohol at their house, acetone, because the ladies use for nail polish, all the way to juices and Coca-Cola. Very involved work that has taken us at least 7 months, and we will be done with that in September, and we will announce the results for you late September, early October. And it will be ready for us to deliver to the FDA. The second 2 categories are the human abuse liability trials. Again, these are long-term extended trials from the time we started writing protocols till we will have data. It'll probably take between 7 and 9 months. These are clinical trials where people will actually take our product. When they take it when it's crushed and they have to report back that the crushed felt like a placebo, otherwise the experiment will not work. They cost millions of dollars, and they are handled by a Canadian entity that has to have the approval of the Canadian government as well as the FDA. Again, the results hopefully will be done sometime toward the end of September. We'll have a preliminary number. We will issue a final report somewhere around October. So the human in vitro studies and the in vivo studies will be ready before October. Why am I giving you these dates? Because I am pushing the staff and all the consultants to have them ready before we go to the FDA pre-NDA meeting in October. I need them to evaluate these and tell us if there's anything missing so we can take care of it before the filing date of December 2014. The FDA asked for a pediatric study, which we have communicated to them that we would like to do it sometime next year while the application is pending. And we have no doubt that they'll accept that. There is precedent that they will accept such a request. In October, once we meet with the FDA, we'll have them give us an assessment of the adequacy of all the data generated. Now, we all interpret the regulations. We believe this is what we need to do. And then the FDA will tell you if you've done it to their standards or to their taste or not. So we will have a lot of feedback, hopefully, after October from the FDA. Again, my vision is, and has been for the past year, and I have updated you on this at every single meeting, and it was a tall order of my staff, to deliver a filing by December of this year, and we are on target to do that. The only thing that could delay us, as I said before, no one can stop us. Elite's anti-abuse is coming to the market. The only entity that could delay it is if the FDA requested one more clinical trial, which will put us off by about 6 months. We will know about that once we meet with them in October. Next step, what are we thinking about once we file? We believe the FDA will grant us expedited review and will give us results probably or approval by September of 2015. That will be the date where we'll be launching in about a year from now, August, September of 2015. To do so, we have to decide what we're doing with our product. I've made the decision we will be manufacturing ELI 200 ourselves. I have had several companies that approached me and asked if they could contract manufacture it for us. They have much bigger facilities, and I have decided the product is staying with us. The marketing of the product, we have one of a couple of options. We either contract the sales and marketing force, and Chris and I have been in contact with such entities and got proposals and numbers and what have you. And the second is to have a well-established pharmaceutical company that has the capabilities and sales and marketing force of 150 to 200 people that can sell our product in addition to theirs at some kind of a profit sharing or commission. I have not made the decision on that part, and that will have to be made by December once we file. Okay? This is the status of ELI 200. It is the most exciting product we have right now. We're filing an application, which have never happened in the history of this company. We're launching an art product. I mean, this is exceptionally exciting. We have several other products in development that we've updated you on. We started the clinical trials for ELI 201. Same thing with 202. Again, the results and data will be available in October probably. We filed INDs for all of them. We're in communication with FDA on what is required. And all of that stuff is exciting, but the filing will take place in December of this year for ELI 200, and that really is our flagship. I will not address any of the other issues because anytime I give a presentation on what's happening with the ANDAs and all of this, I get asked questions, so I'm going to leave it for you guys to ask the questions on the rest of the issues. And operator, we can open it now for question and answer.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is now open for questions. To allow for as many questioners as possible, we ask that you limit yourself to one question and one follow-up. If you have any questions or comments, please press the number 1 followed by 4 on your touch-tone phone at this time. Pressing 1 for a second time will remove you from the queue should your question be answered. Lastly, while posing your question, we ask that you please pick up your handset if listening on speakerphone to provide optimum sound quality. Once again, that is 1 followed by 4 to ask a question. Please hold a moment while we poll for questions. Okay, our first question is coming from Bob Parker. Please pose your question.
Morning, gentlemen. Congratulations again on another great quarter. Question on what's your expectations from the FDA when you're filing these INDs for ELI 200 and 202?
Okay. Good morning, Bob.
Morning.
The reason we file an IND is investigational new drug application, which what you do is you get an exemption from the FDA to introduce a product that has not been approved yet into interstate commerce. Okay? So whenever you make an ELI 200 and you're going to send it to a clinic where you're going to dose it into human beings, how do you do that when you don't have an approval? So the IND is the system that was created to overcome that. It also gives the FDA 30 days to think about whether the trial you're going to run is acceptable to them or detrimental to the human beings, and will ask you to add more safety controls. Okay? Furthermore, it opens up the line of communication with FDA whereby we would ask them a question like we did with the in vitro, with the lab studies. We said, here's what we're doing. They came back with a very intelligent analysis saying, here's what you propose you do. And that helped cut the work, actually, that we were going to do by quite a bit and helped us out tremendously. So that's why you file an IND.
Okay. Can I follow on with a quick one? This is in regards in the 10Q on the expansion of your Northvale facilities. Does this give the potential for ELTP to manufacture and distribute all of the art drugs without a partner?
Not all. If we are going to go with the Hakim vision of more than a dozen, I'll need a huge company for that. But yes, it does allow us to launch this product and probably 2-3 others.
Thank you. Our next question is with Steve Smith. Your line is live.
Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for another stellar quarter and all the hard work you've put in.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Given that Elite's generic NDA art line takes less time and money to bring to market than Elite's once-daily Eli 216 product, can you speak to what the plans are for this product? Say, for instance, to partner a combo Eli 201 and 216 together, and how quickly you are planning to move forward with this product, as there is no once-daily abuse-resistant product on the market to date?
Obviously, that's a very intelligent question, and I think about that a lot. To take products like this to the market by ourselves would require a lot of money. Mr. Ward here thinks day and night on how he can get me another $50 million. But definitely, all options are on the table, and I have no issue. And I have talked to other companies about partnering with us in order to cover the clinical trial costs. At the end of the day, my philosophy is very simple. I'm very open-minded. Whatever makes sense for Elite, I will do it.
Okay. Just another quick question. Bob previously answered the other question I was interested in. But you had mentioned during the last conference call that there were 2 pharma companies that had contacted you, and you didn't realize that they were actually interested in Elite's technology. Anything further going on with those 2 companies as far as talks and discussions?
The answer is nothing has changed for the past 6 weeks since we had a meeting with you guys, and yes, we have even held meetings.
Okay.
That's correct. We are definitely actively pursuing that, Steve.
Thank you. Our next question is with Scott Dixon. Your line is live.
Good morning, gentlemen. Great job so far this quarter. Nazarek, my question is, I know you signed on for a 3-year contract. Are you looking to stay on longer?
I'm not sure who started that rumor, but I've heard it before, so I went ahead and looked at my contract, and it doesn't say 3 years anywhere in it. So I'm here as long as Elite needs me, and as long as I'm having fun and bringing stockholder value, since I've taken over a year ago, the stock has increased by about 400-500%. We're introducing new products to the market. As long as good stuff is happening, I'm here. If a huge company ends up paying the right price for Elite, I'm very open-minded, and they buy us tomorrow, I retire tomorrow. So definitely, I could be here for the next 5-10 years, and, well, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but I could be out sooner than 3 years.
I have one more quick question. At the evaluation, where you gave a three-tier money value to the price, at what point are we looking at the high end of that evaluation? What needs to happen to get us there?
Well, that evaluation was based upon the products identified in our strategic plans that we are developing, and so once those get commercialized and approved, that's probably when the model indicates we should be approaching the high end. Now, keep in mind that that valuation was really the current value of the future prospects. So, when that was done last year, around October-November timeframe, that was the current value, assuming all of these products were to come online. So, whatever the inflation rate should be adjusted into the price in the future.
Thank you. Our next question is with Charles Youngblood. Your line is live.
Yes, hello.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. I had one question, and then I'd like to follow up with another one if there's time. In the 10Q, they mentioned something about some arbitration over phentermine with precision dose, and I was just curious if that was going to have any impact on the supply, and if there was going to be any potential fallout in terms of cost in that arbitration.
Great. I don't think it will. Like any partners, you have contracts that says when you have disagreements, you go to an arbitrator. We have filed with arbitration. However, we have not gone to an arbitrator yet. Our lawyers are discussing it among themselves. It has not affected the supply from us to TAGI or precision dosing or the pricing. And we hope to conclude and resolve the issues over the coming few months.
Okay.
And you see, during this whole period, our revenues are increasing. So we continue to, supply and sell to Precision Dose.
Okay, and that's a great lead-in for the other question. In terms of the increased revenues, on this 10Q, there was no mention of operating costs excluding R&D. Typically, you have that number. Do you have a number on the operating costs for the quarter minus research and development?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at the P&L statement, there's our operating expenses are categorized into four numbers. There's the R&D, there's general and administrative expenses, non-cash compensation, and depreciation. So they're all there. I mean, I just tell you the G&A expenses, general and administrative, were $626,000, I believe. Our total operating expenses were $4.8 million, and that would, that's also including the non-cash items. $4 million of that is R&D, so most of it's in R&D. Okay.
Thank you. Our next question is with James Smith. Your line is live.
Good morning, gentlemen. Very good quarter. I appreciate everything.
Good morning.
I know people are thinking about this, so I'm going to ask it, and I don't know how you can even answer it, but can you tell me why the stock is just so flat with all of this positive news?
If I had a crystal ball, I would. Honestly, I can't even begin to guess. Look, Elite has had a turbulent history, and that affects us a little. And there are a lot of negative news, some bashers here and there. But overall, if you step back and look at our achievements, especially in the last year, it's mind-boggling. And you can suppress things like this for a little while, but you cannot once there is a product that's been submitted to FDA. You cannot once there's been a product that's been approved by FDA. Once, hopefully, we either come up with a partner or financing, so we continue with this. So the next few months are going to be really telling, and I feel, this is my personal feeling, is that this is going to change. And over the next year, especially with an approval from FDA and a launch date of hopefully next September, nobody's going to be able to stop us.
I agree. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
Thank you. As a reminder, if you do have a question, please press 1 followed by 4 on your touch-tone phone. Our next question is with Steve Carter. Your line is live.
Good morning, gentlemen. Congratulations on the quarter, and thank you for the good work. I have 2 quick questions, and I will be quick. And a follow-up from the previous person who was just on. I don't think there is a big surprise why the price of the stock is suppressed. I think the vote for the new shares is one of the biggest reasons. And I wanted to ask about that. I think there is a big concern among investors about the increased number of shares, and I also wanted to ask what is happening with a possible uplisting of the stock.
Okay, the uplisting of the stock on a NASDAQ is one of the things that are on my mind, and again, preliminary, I see us there in 2016. I have always said this from day one. I do believe in fundamentals. I need to see our company have solid fundamentals, earnings and revenues, which determines the price of the stock. And I do not want to rush to any stock exchange and have us crash back into a penny stock. Okay, so it's not going to happen till we file a product, get an approval, and start generating revenue. I want us there for good. Period. And hopefully it'll happen organically, and then the financials will support it. As to the number of shares, and I've heard what you said from other callers and from few people. Maybe it is, but the fact is, whenever you are a small company like us, which have an exceptional product, and you don't have money to take it all the way, you have to bring in some kind of a financing. The Lincoln Park deal has been one of the best things that this company has ever done. Here is my analogy of why I think that is excellent. If 9 of us own this beautiful house that's sitting on a great mansion, but it doesn't have a roof, and you know that if you do not invest the money in building a roof, rain is going to destroy it. Okay? Bringing in a 10th person who will take 10% of that entire pie, if you will be the best way for you to protect the house and have a roof on top of it and have an asset that's valuable. Elite was exactly like that. We had the technology that we could not take anywhere because we didn't have money. And without the deal with Novel and without the deal with Lincoln Park, the company would not have increased 500% in share, even though we added more shares, and the company would not be able to get an approval for their first art product. Yes, it is a trade-in, but I think it's more than a fair one.
Very eloquent answer, and I appreciate it. The other quick question is something that has confused me for a while. The site transfers for the generics, the CBE-30s, and I'm talking specifically about istradipine. It seems like this was filed months ago, and there's been no news on what's happening with those, and I don't understand it.
Okay. Actually, there's a lot of news, so let me walk you through it. I do believe I've covered this before. I apologize if you weren't on the call or I did not emphasize it enough. We made isradipine at our facility in here at Northvale. We put it on stability. We created the CBE-30, and we filed it with FDA. We received feedback from the center that they want us to, they said the CBE-30 is still open. We would like you to validate the process before you launch it. And they literally said to us, you can validate the process and launch and then notify us. So from their standpoint, we can move forward. The issues we encountered is the same issues that a lot of other companies encounter. First, the API manufacturer was the only API. We had single-sourced API manufacturer in our application. So in order for them to sell us product for us to go ahead and validate, they requested first that we pay the GDUFA fee on their behalf. They were not using their DMF, so they wanted us to pay that. We paid it. It was like $36,000 or so. Then they demanded that we buy all of the raw materials that go into making isradipine. So we had to fork another check for like $124,000, and then we had to buy the entire lot from them, which we did, and after the entire lot of API, which is a lot of API, and a lot of negotiations took place between Doug Plossie and these people in order to finally get us the API. Now that we have the API, Doug needs to prioritize it, and I anticipate that we will go ahead and finish the validation and launch in Q4 of this year. There is a ton of work that's been taking place, but it takes a while for us to be able to bring it all to conclusion and go ahead and validate and file the product or launch the product.
Thank you. Once again, to ask a question is 1 followed by 4 on your touch-tone phone at this time. Our next question is with Mark Ehrlich. Your line is live.
Good morning, gentlemen, and congratulations on another great quarter and overall another great year for Elite. Another job well done by the team there. A couple of questions, quick questions. You really emphasized ELI 200, and it seems obvious that you're receiving FDA guidance on what needs to be done to get this product to market by the end of the year. If it's successful, if all the tests are successful, which so far they are, and everything goes as planned, FDA receives the submission and ultimately grants the product to be produced. Does that make the follow-up products that much easier as far as the processes? I mean, can it, like 201, 202, can it be streamlined a little with modifications, relating specifically to that type of product? But does it make the testing process that much easier because it's already been approved in ELI 200, and since Elite's tech is modular, does the FDA give a more of a streamlined on the follow-up products?
Absolutely. Okay, that is very true. It's from the FDA standpoint and ours. A lot of this, I mean, the guidance on the anti-abuse is recent, so it was uncharted waters to a large extent. Once we have gone through it thoroughly with the FDA on ELI 200, then we can already anticipate what the FDA wants. For example, in the in vitro studies or in the human anti-abuse studies, we can anticipate that and go ahead and be proactive and run all of these studies instead of submitting a petition to FDA and waiting to see if it's okay. You are correct. It will help a lot expedite things in the future, and possibly it could have a little bit of savings associated with it because we can bundle a couple of things at the same time.
Excellent. And my second question, you really seem to be keying in on September, late September, for some significant information. Are you coinciding this with your appearance at the Rodman Conference to have substantial presentation there with new products from Elite?
That really sounds like it is, but it's not. The Rodman Conference is early in the month. It's 8th through 10th, I believe, and the results that we're getting will be toward the end of the month, and the final reports will be in October. I am really trying to set everything to coincide with meeting with the FDA, because the more I can give them, the better guidelines they can give me. The FDA are not requiring I bring anything to the pre-NDA meeting, but the more I bring them, the more feedback will give me, and that's really my driving source.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. Again, job well done.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Last question today is with Sally Prescott. Your line is live.
Hi, Mr. Hakeem and the rest. You've done a wonderful job, and we're really proud of all of your efforts. My comment is, I'm sure you've heard of the 60-minute show where they showed the high-speed trading by the big black computers that all the big banks are doing. And Goldman Sachs admitted that what they do is any stock they something that some people are fighting it, and trying to get another exchange in there. Already got one, and a book has been written about it. But it's a very deterrent thing to retail buyers because they buy stock and then it goes down immediately. What they do is they take the cream off the coffee every time, and it should be illegal. And you should speak to your congressperson and let them know, be very aware of what you're doing with the FDA and everything else, so that they will kind of keep an eye on it and kind of make sure you get fair treatment. Because let me tell you, small companies many times get abused because they don't make donations to congressmen and all, and they don't have any clout. And one other thing I wanted to say is your stock increase is not unreasonable. The stock afloat here is a very comfortable number. And there are companies that have 3 or 4 billion shares now, reputable small companies that are doing well. But not to go to an exchange until the stock is strong, until the news is good, is the greatest idea, because I have several that did reverse splits, went to NASDAQ, and they're down to where they were way before the reverse split. It's just not necessary right now for you to do that. And I think you're a very wise man, and thank goodness you came to this company. And that's all I wanted to say, and thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate your help.
Thank you, Sally.
Support.
Good to hear from you.
We have no further questions at this time. I'd like to hand the floor back to management for closing statements.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you all for joining us today. This has been an extremely exciting year for Elite. Thank you for your support, and look for really good news, because I am very excited about this company. The next few months are going to be sensational, and we'll talk to you sometime in November. Thank you all.
Have a nice day.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This does conclude today's conference call. You may disconnect your phone lines at this time, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for your participation.
You have reached the end of the conference. You are now being disconnected. Goodbye.